everyone. I'm John Kernan, along with the professor of motorsports, Benny Parsons, who's back from Monday's Daytona USA induction ceremony. Coming up on RPM tonight, the professor analyzes all the moves of Sunday's big race, and Bill Weber will be here a little later on to give us his take on the Daytona 500. But first, Jeff Gordon's winning car has a new home. For the next year, it'll reside inside Daytona USA. All during Speed Weeks, Gordon said it was the best car he'd ever had at Daytona, and Matt Yoakum says Gordon proved it by winning the Great American Race.
For the second time in 3 years, Jeff Gordon won stock car racing's biggest event, the Daytona 500. Making the win even more special is the fact that he beat the defending race winner and Daytona's most prolific performer, Dale Earnhardt, who left his own congratulations on the door.
Yeah, I think he was putting his signature on the side of the door, in rubber, because, that's Dale's way of saying, hey, that was a great race. Congratulations. Your car's going to Daytona USA tomorrow. And here's my signature on the side of it so everybody can see it.
It shows everybody that we really haven't lost any momentum since Atlanta, and I think that was the thing I was most happy about last night. We got off to a slow start this week. We seemed a little bit rusty, and everything really came together yesterday, and it just lets me know that the depth and the strength of this team is still there.
It was a great Daytona 500, and when you're part of a great race and you pull off the win, that makes it even more special.
Gordon's pass for the lead on Rusty Wallace was a daring move. More of a high-speed, high-stakes game of chicken.
In reality, I watched the tape over and over again, and Rusty's the one that put him down there. Had Rusty stayed in the lane he was in and let Jeff continue to make his pass, Jeff wouldn't have been behind Ricky Rudd. So Rusty held him down there as long as he could, and he realized that Jeff wasn't going to back off, so he moved back up and kind of gave him some room.
Just as I was getting ready to lift off the gas and get back in behind Rusty, I saw Rudd starting to move, and I saw Rusty starting to move up the track, and I just stayed in it. And, it's one of those moves where sometimes it's daring, but it certainly worked. And if you're going to win the Daytona 500, you've got to make moves like that late in the race.
This is a big boy sport, and those are big boys, and I wouldn't want to have been involved in that game of chicken, but that was between those two guys.
Including Sunday's season-opening victory, Jeff Gordon has won 4 of the last 5 races. If the defending champions ever had a bullseye on them, it's even bigger now.
Well, I think it just got bigger.
When you say bullseye, I hope you mean that in a good way, like people trying to beat us.
That's a good way.
Okay, well, that's good then. It's because I know there are some people that like to shoot us.
Those guys are saying, hey, okay, restrictor plate racing's over with. Now we go to the downforce tracks. Now we're going to find out who's going to be the contender for the championship. So, in a way, we have to throw this one out, when it comes to the championship. But anytime you get a little bit of an advantage, it's always good. So this is a nice way to start the season.
Gordon became the first driver to win from the pole in the Daytona 500 since Bill Elliott did it in 1987. Elliott also won from the pole in '85. Kel Yarborough did it the year before that. Benny, after all those guys winning from the pole in the '80s, why do you figure it took 12 years from Elliott to Gordon before we saw it happen again?
Well, in 1987, they started using the restrictor plate, so I'm sure that the restrictor plate had something to do with the fact that the guys that were really good drafters, maybe their engine people didn't figure out how to make the horsepower, and they had to start somewhere in the back of the field.
What is it about Jeff Gordon that when it comes down to late in the race, that kid can just dig somewhere inside and just come up with whatever he needs to do?
I wish I knew, John. If I just had some idea, I'd somehow can this. I'd make him spit in the bottle or something. I'd can this and I'd sell it somehow, some way. I have no idea exactly what it is, but you're right. It just seems like that he and Abraham work together. They make the right decisions, always make the right decisions, or seem to most always make the right decisions on what to do. And when they make that decision, he just calls something from down below, and away he goes.
Well, speaking of calling something up, we heard them talk about that movie made on Rusty Wallace. Let's look at it again. I want to get your, opinion of what's going on here.
Well, first of all, I think Abraham is exactly right. The groove that the cars run in, if you're running by yourself or qualifying, is somewhere up near the wall. And when those guys go down there to the bottom of the racetrack to block someone, again, if they get hit, if there is a contact down there, it's not the guys on the bottom's fault. Now, I don't care if that's Jeff Gordon down there or it's Rusty Wallace down there, and they all block. Jeff Gordon blocks, Dale Earnhardt blocks, Rusty Wallace blocks, they all block. But if they get hit down next to the grass, that's not the guy on the inside's fault.
You don't like blocking, do you?
I understand that's the way of life, but no, I don't like blocking just for blocking's sake to run those guys in the grass. I don't like that because I like to see passing. I think I'm a fan now. I'm not a driver, I'm a fan, and I like to see passing.
How about Earnhardt? He had to pass a lot of guys because at one point in time during the race, he was half a lap behind.
Yes, he was. Something happened to the car, and they kept talking about that they changed ignition boxes, and after that, the car did, in fact, run better. But at that time, he was a half lap behind when he made that change, and he got right to the front before the end of the race.
There on that last lap, Earnhardt's in a position possibly to do to Jeff Gordon what he did to Mark Martin in the IROC race. Were you surprised he couldn't get up there and do it?
Yes, I was, but I talked to Jeff and I talked to Evernham, and Ray said they really worked on their car to get from the middle of the corner, off the corner, to the straightaway. And that's one reason that Earnhardt could not get to him, because they had worked on that specific part of the racetrack to get from the middle off the corner.
What about Rusty Wallace? He led half the race, but there at the end, nobody went with him. Do you think it was because they knew how strong his car was, knew if they helped push him to the front, they couldn't get around him?
I think that they're probably concerned that Rusty was out there with the worn tires, because they all stopped. They had fresh tires, and they felt like that the cars that stopped had an advantage. Rusty didn't stop, so they felt like that maybe he was at a disadvantage. And it turned out that that could have been the case. And he got shuffled to the rear. He did pass some cars to get back to 8th place. Now, if the tire, not stopping for tires, cost him anything, we'll never know the answer to that question, John.
We'll never know. We'll just let that lie. Thanks a lot, Benny. Stick around. We got more to talk about a little bit later on. Hey, it was the most exciting Daytona 500 in years. When we come back, Bill Weber looks back at the no-holds-barred racing. And we'll check out the teammates and how they did in Sunday's big race.
Stolen moments with the one you love. Is it wrong?
Heck no. Not if you love that one-of-a-kind 2-all beef patty taste of McDonald's Big Mac.
Calling all units. Be on the lookout for the Hamburglar.
Did somebody say McDonald's?
Get ready.
They're here.
The most precious metals are about to arrive.
Stand back, boys.
Introducing Racing Champions Precious Metal Series Limited Edition Collectible Diecast.
In gold. In 24-karat gold.
And platinum.
NASCAR collectibles so unique they could only be called precious metals.
Better get your hands on them.
Before we get them all.
Racing Champions Precious Metals and Originals. There's a new series to collect every month. Available at your favorite retailer.
At Invesco, we know that the financial world isn't always as it seems. The big economic picture can always change quickly. And to manage a fund, Invesco knows you need to be on top of the changing picture and know how it might affect you right at home. Invesco, a family of no-load funds. Over 65 years of experience, a global perspective. You should know what Invesco knows.
RPM Tonight is being brought to you by Briggs & Stratton. Put more power into your lineup. Make sure all of your outdoor power equipment has a powerful, dependable Briggs & Stratton engine.
Benny Parsons is sitting back in the control room so Bill Weber can come out now. And, you know, Bill, Benny and I talked about it earlier, just a great race. I mean, what more can you say about the Daytona 500?
I don't know what we're going to try. There's certainly not much more you could ask for out of the Daytona 500. You can always hope you see a race like we saw on Sunday, but seldom do you get one. We wait all winter for the NASCAR Winston Cup season to roll off, hoping this is the biggest, the most exciting year ever. Great races, a tight points battle, a thrilling finish in November. You know what? After this past Sunday, it just might be.
The feeling the morning of the Daytona 500 is unlike any other day of the year. It's more than just the big race, it's a new season. Then there is the fact this is a frightening restrictor plate race where someone else's mistake can ruin your day. It began with Jeff Gordon on the pole and Jeff Gordon in the lead. But no matter who led, how often, or how long, it was never by very much. In recent years, this is where the fast lane freight train suddenly lurched and jumped the track. But after 2 previous days of watching fellow drivers litter this 2.5-mile highway with shredded race cars, often in spectacular fashion, patience and talent was rewarded with near perfection, punctuated with moments of near disaster. The bad part of a great day came on lap 135, when Dale Jarrett's Ford, running fast in tight traffic, bobbled, spun, and the wreck was on. Mark Martin, Terry Labonte, and 8 others were the victims of Jarrett's bad luck.
They got under me coming off of 2. I had to check up a little bit to keep from getting into Jeremy there, and when they did that, it put me in the middle, but I thought I was holding my place there, and you get down to the back, you got to get in line, and I don't know, I got tagged. I don't know what happened. That just caused a big wreck then.
Throughout the day, the drama never ended. Late Sunday afternoon, Rusty Wallace had the best car, in the best spot, and his best shot at winning his first Daytona 500. But he didn't. Bobby Hamilton crashed on lap 174. That opened the pits and opened the door for criticism. Wallace and teammate Jeremy Mayfield didn't come for tires, but the other guys did. The final 25 laps provided the kind of action that turned racing into NASCAR and fans into fanatics. No big crash, just bold moves. Fast cars driven by drivers with courage and confidence. Gordon fought his way back up through the pack one more time, and then forced a 3-wide hammer-down charge along the front stretch. With the crippled car of Ricky Rudd running low on the track, Wallace drifted high. Gordon got underneath him, and Rusty never contended again.
It was either crash or move back up on the racetrack, because we were both on apron, and Rudd was coming up with the tore-up car, and I think Gordon was going to drive right through the back of him if I didn't do something to try to help us both. But I would have never believed that I'd have got beat up that bad without that many lap cars.
It all came down to Earnhardt and Gordon. The last lap was just 2.5 miles. But for Gordon, it must have seemed like 2.5 days. Driving with his eyes on the mirror and his heart in his throat, Gordon beat the man, won the money, and sent the fans home with memories of a great Daytona 500.
We just trying to do all I could to just get to the 24, and his car was pretty strong off the corners, and if I could have just got to him off the corner, I might have got under him, but I just couldn't get there.
When it came down to it, things just fell in place for us, and you don't always know why that happens, but it seems like the great teams, the drivers, the teams that just have that complete package like we do, always seem to find their way to the top, and for some reason we did it. I didn't think we could, but we did today.
This was a great race, the kind the fans are going to talk about forever, the kind you're glad to say you were there to see. It was a headline maker for the sport, not only from the competition side, but from the financial side as well. Sure, Jeff Gordon was the big winner, but not the only winner, especially if we get to see more of that kind of excitement throughout the year, John.
Speaking of excitement, Rusty Wallace, I thought he was going to win.
I did too.
But, man, he's got to be very disappointed.
He's probably not having a real good Monday, but I'll tell you one thing about that team. Flying home last night, they were probably heartbroken. We could have, should have won the Daytona 500, but they go to work thinking, well, we went to a track where it's easy to lose a great race car. Our car's in great shape, not a spot on it. We came out of there with an 8th place finish, so we got a top 10 finish in the Daytona 500, and they're 6th in points. Those are 3 positives. Now they're going to Rockingham, where Rusty runs great. He's got 5 career wins there, and this team usually bounces back from this type of situation in a very good fashion. They could be tough on Sunday.
While you're kind of looking ahead, I want to look ahead a little bit farther down the line. Monte Carlo, the new Monte Carlo. Heard it was going to be ready for Charlotte. Then I heard no. Heard the Brickyard 400, and now I'm hearing what? What's going on with that, Bill?
Well, it's not going to be at Charlotte in May, that's for sure. And some teams may run it at Indianapolis. But right now it has to go back to the wind tunnel. They have to do more work on it. They have to get the templates approved. Then they have to get the templates built and then shipped to the teams. The thing about it is teams aren't going to want to change cars in mid-season anyway, even though that was the original plan. But GM wants that car on the track because they want to sell it. This directly affects Dale Earnhardt Jr. He wasn't going to run any Winston Cup races unless the 2000 Monte Carlo was approved. Now that team's going to build 398 Monte Carlos, try and pull Talladega off his Cup schedule and run him at 5 intermediate tracks to get ready for next season.
Well, I'm glad they're not going to cancel his debut because I can't wait to see that kid race Winston Cup.
Too.
All right, Bill, thanks a lot. RPM Tonight will return in just a moment.
20 years ago, America's cable companies decided on their own to provide gavel-to-gavel coverage of Congress as a public service at no cost to the taxpayer. C-SPAN would bring the House, the Senate, democracy as it happens into our homes and schools. For 20 years, C-SPAN, the cable industry's gift to America.
22. The road to the Final Four begins now. And Chevrolet, the official sponsor of NCAA basketball, is bringing you hours of college hoops on ESPN and ESPN2. Watch the hottest and most respected teams from schools across the nation prove that they're worthy of the tournament in March '99. NCAA basketball on ESPN and ESPN2 is brought to you in part by the all-new Chevy Astro, the Chevy Blazer, and the Chevy Suburban. You'll know that these are Chevy trucks. They're the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. Chevy truck, like a rock.
It's a big Monday on ESPN2. At 7, the Friars face pure power in the paint when they battle Ron Artest and the Red Storm. At 9, big stars shine in the Big 12 when Oklahoma's Eduardo Nahara takes on Missouri's Albert White. And at 11, Tulsa is shooting for the top of the WAC when they face Sean Marion and the Runnin' Reds. Providence St. John's at 7, Oklahoma, Missouri at 9, UNLV Tulsa at 11. Big Monday presented by Bud Light tonight on ESPN2.
Everybody talks about the importance of having a teammate at Daytona. Dale Earnhardt and Mike Skinner didn't really work together that much during the race, but they came through with the best results, 2nd and 4th. And Benny, when you look at the teammates, you look at Rusty Wallace and Jeremy Mayfield, they were perfect, but then they wound up 8th and 20th.
Well, they just got shuffled there at the end, but they did work together exactly the way that you draw it up on the drawing board. Now, Skinner and Earnhardt had the best finishes, but they got there alone, not with each other, not working together. And I'm sure that Richard Childress this week is going to sit down with those guys and say, look, you need to work better together as a team.
Now, speaking of teammates, let's take a look at the big wreck. I want to get your take on what happened there.
Well, John, we're going to have crashes like this as long as we have auto racing going into the corners. Going in 1, going in 3, going in the corner of Rockingham, going in the corner of Daytona, Martinsville. Anytime the car in behind is trying to pass a car in front, you get to that no man's land. You don't know whether to go on or back up. Kenny Irwin, I think, got to no man's land. He decided to back off, and when he does, he can't get out of the gas quite hard enough, and Jarrett comes down to the groove, and they make contact. You know, was Kenny Irwin far enough along that Dale Jarrett should have gone up the racetrack? Again, that's nothing but a driver decision to make, and it's only a split-second decision to make.
You know, I think a lot of people put a lot of heat on Kenny Irwin saying it was his fault. I don't think it was. He held his line.
Well, again, his line, but they're both going for the same spot.
Right.
And where are you before you start backing out of the gas? If you're to the door, then you should go on. If you're to the left rear tire, maybe you start backing out. Kenny Irwin tried to back out of that, and he was not quite quick enough. Again, should Jarrett have moved up the racetrack? If he'd moved up the racetrack, there wouldn't have been a crash. Again, we can argue this till we're blue in the face, and we're still at Rockingham. We'll probably have to be talking about exactly the same thing. What happened? Somebody was trying to pass somebody in front of them.
You know, no argument that you know, the Yates cars are always strong there. Childress at the restrictor plate tracks. You mentioned the 2nd or 4th place finish. Why does that team seem to excel at those plate tracks?
Well, I think that Dale Earnhardt is one part of the equation because he is very, very good at those racetracks, and he knows what he wants. He knows how to tell Childress. He knows how to tell the crew chiefs what he wants in a race car, and I think that spills over to Skinner.
You also, a couple guys who were strong, the Joe Gibbs cars. However, got to feel sorry for him because the engines just wouldn't last.
Well, you know, that's the one thing about Richard Childress that really amazes me is as good as the cars are, they always finish. He understands durability. Now, yes, Joe Gibbs' team has some great race cars, very fast race cars, but they didn't run the 500 miles. And that today, they're working on that. And when they go to Talladega, I would dare say those cars will not be quite as fast, but they will run 500 miles.
I'll tell you, Tony Stewart impressed me because he got shuffled back a couple of times but kept fighting his way back. Very impressive.
He was impressive.
Well, next on RPM tonight, Speed Shots going to whip its way into your living rooms.
Gordon is way behind.
Stick a fork in Jeff. He's done.
What is he thinking? Holy baloo!
Ooh, that's gotta hurt.
What could possess a man to drive like that? Oh, gotcha. He's making his move backward. Gordon wins.
We got to get him a cup holder.
Pepsi is the proud sponsor of the Daytona International Speedway and the Daytona 500.
NASCAR driver Jeff Burton goes head-to-head with everyday driver Eileen.
My car has a 750 horsepower high-compression engine.
My car has an engine.
I can cruise all afternoon at 180 miles per hour.
I'll stick to 55, thanks.
I start my engine with a powerful Exide NASCAR Select battery.
Me too. Thanks.
The Exide NASCAR Select battery. It's not just for race cars.
the 1999 SP Awards. It's going to be great.
The 1999 ESPY Awards with host Samuel L. Jackson. Performances by Big Bad Voodoo Daddy and Fastball. Plus Ben Affleck, Carmen Electra, Garth Brooks, Mark McGuire, Tyra Banks, Sammy Sosa, Burt Reynolds, Rebecca Romaine Stamos, Jimmy Smits, Terrell Davis, the Yankees, and more. The greatest night in sports, the 1999 ESPY Awards, live tonight at 7:30 on ESPN. Presented by Pennzoil and General Motors.
Still to come on RPM tonight, we'll talk to Benny about the surprises in this year's Daytona 500.
Today's Sports Century Classic Moment is brought to you by Burger King.
Running the last 25 laps on worn tires, Richard Petty wins the Daytona 500 for an unprecedented 7th time.
You know, I never claimed to be a good race car driver. Never worried about whether people considered me a good race car driver or not. The main thing that I want to do is win races. As long as they can say, there goes the winningest driver there is, that's fine with me.
The King was king, February 15th, 1981.
That's a tasty looking burger.
Yeah, it's a Whopper. Extra pickles.
Give you $5 for it.
10. No, 11.
$22.50.
50 cash money.
36F has a Whopper.
Did you say Whopper?
I'll double it.
I double is double.
I'll marry you. I'll give you my change right now.
I'll let you fly the plane.
I'll let you land it.
Really?
When you have it your way, it just tastes better.
Jeff Gordon heads to Rockingham this weekend with a 10-point lead over Dale Earnhardt in the chase for the NASCAR Winston Cup title. Kenny Irwin and Mike Skinner are both tied at 165 points apiece, while Michael Waltrip and Rusty Wallace round out the top 6. And Benny, I know it's early in the season. 33 races still remain, but it's still important to get off to a good point start, isn't it?
Oh, certainly it is. And, you know, we talk in NASCAR today, we're going to talk this year about when we feel like a driver or team is eliminated from winning the 1999 Winston Cup Championship. And you look at the finishing order, and I think there's a couple of guys that were eliminated yesterday.
Well, Michael Waltrip certainly not among those who have been eliminated. A 5th place finish. Basically a brand new team. They changed from Fords to Chevys, changed drivers over the winter. Were you surprised that they were that strong? Because that car was strong all throughout Speed Weeks.
Well, I don't guess I should be surprised because Michael Waltrip is a quality race car driver, but he needed that. He really needed that good run. I think I read that it's his first top 5 in a couple of years, and I think that Jim Matei Motorsports needed that as well because now they should be able to build on that and carry on for the next 2 or 3 months anyway.
Talking about building, how about Kyle Petty? That's basically another new team. A great run. He finished 7th. What do you think his chances are for carrying that momentum they gained on Sunday throughout the season?
It looks good. And, you know, he says to us, he worked with us down at Daytona in a couple of races, and he keeps telling us that Adam Petty has rejuvenated his career. That right now, Kyle is excited about auto racing because of the excitement that Adam is showing.
That's interesting. I'll tell you somebody else who's excited. I talked to him a little bit earlier in the day is Rick Mast. 10th place finish, and I'm being told by some people, some sources I have around that team, that Sonic Restaurants might be on that car the rest of the year. They've got another major associate sponsorship supposed to announce this week. How far do you think that top 10 finish in the Daytona 500 is going to go in helping that team out?
Well, it'll help a great deal. There's no doubt about that. But, you know, John, you're right. They need some funding. You know, for Cale Yarborough and his partner, Burdett or whatever, to reach in their pocket and pull out the kind of money that it takes to compete with Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt and Dale Jarrett and the rest of them, you just can't think that will happen, so they need some outside funding from someplace. Let's just hope, keep our fingers crossed that it comes through.
And they were also, Rick had bad luck, but it turned out to be good luck. He had a right front tire going down right before the big wreck. He slowed down and was able to miss the big wreck and finish 10th. So it was a pretty good day for Rick.
Some days you're lucky, John.
Yeah, some days bad luck turns into good luck.
Exactly.
Benny, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you again next week. 10th on Sunday was Mast's best finish in the 500 since he wound up 4th in 1991. He kicked off his Daytona career in 1989 with a 6th place finish. We'll be right back.
Green buddies, I got some bad news. We got canned. They want us off the rocks by the end of the day.
What did you just say?
Canned? Who got canned?
Okay, freeze the swamp. You guys can talk?
Of course we can talk, you bonehead.
What does can mean?
But all you said was Bud and
We were reading from the script. You should try it sometime.
What does can mean?
No, don't be fired.
Can means fired? I can't breathe. Gonna get sick?
Wait, no, don't get sick.
Getting sick?
Put your head between your legs.
Someone get him a bucket. Now, how is that supposed to sell beer?
Gosh, you know, I just went to use the phone.
You say once you got back, your wife was gone.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
What?
Have you checked the hot enchilada?
Oh, no. Millicent gets terrible heartburn.
Not this time.
What's that?
Looks like the remains of an individually wrapped Pepsid AC chewable.
Introducing Pepsid AC Chewables, the first chewable to stop heartburn before it starts.
Millicent? Is that you?
Start living heartburn-free with new Pepsid AC Chewables.
Bumper-to-bumper traffic? Anyone? Change the oil. Endless construction? Scooter. Change the oil. High cholesterol? Change the oil. Every driving adventure is an opportunity to win one of 100,000 prizes found hidden under the caps. Specially marked Pennzoil motor oil. Trips to ESPN sporting events, the ESPYs, merchandise from Pennzoil and ESPN can be yours if we change the oil. He twists, he turns, he scores.
A presentation from ESPN Classic. They fought in the shadows. Boxers you never heard of and heroes you'll never forget. Shadow Boxing, the journey of the African-American fighter. February 19th at 8 p.m. right here on ESPN2.
The Daytona 500 is history, but our coverage isn't. Don't forget to watch Outside the Lines Days of Daytona this Wednesday night at 12 Eastern. In Formula One news, Williams Technical Director Patrick Head says the South African Grand Prix might be added to this year's schedule. A number of F1 teams are currently testing in South Africa. Head told SABC TV that Kyalami offers a good testing ground for the races in Australia and Brazil, but he also told them there exists a strong possibility of a Grand Prix at Kyalami this year. Tuesday night at 7 Eastern, we will talk with F1 owner Jackie Stewart. Plus, Dr. Jerry Punch will be here, and we'll check out Jeff Gordon's visit to the All-Star Cafe. We'll see you then. Good night, everybody.
This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com, a part of the Go Network. Go.com.
Wanted. Football players, new players, old players. Are you wanted? You must be able to lead and work within the system. Can you dominate? Overcome adversity? No matter what the price? Strong arms are always wanted, as is courage.
Today was the first step of, a long road for me. I just left the door for a trip.
WANTED. NFL Tonight wants you next.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to your weekly installment of NFL Tonight. The players are, well into their offseason. We are not. We continue to bring you news around the league. Mark Malone, along with Anthony Munoz, the Hall of Famer, who has not left for free agency yet, but these numbers are getting pretty enticing.
Maybe if you can be my agent, we'll go half the price if they don't mind a lineman that's going to chop block a lot. Because a bull rush will send me right back here.
I take you as a third down pass blocker, no doubt.
Let's see. Maybe you can sell it.
Well, let's get to the news because a lot of people are getting rich. The 1999 free agent period isn't even a week old, and the NFL teams are spending money, well, like there's no tomorrow. The latest of the 471 free agents to ink a deal is former Washington Redskin quarterback Trent Green signing a 4-year deal with the St. Louis Rams worth $16.5 million. And although Green was a relative unknown, the Rams have a player that has spent 6 years in the NFL. In his first extensive action last season, the 8th-round pick out of San Diego State threw for more than 3,400 yards and 23 TDs while completing nearly 55% of his passes. Now, for at least the time being, Green joins Tony Banks on the St. Louis roster. The free agent acquisition not only posted a better record than Banks last season, his touchdown-to-interception ratio was much better. And, of course, the deciding factor in the deal, no doubt, was Green's NFL Tonight quarterback rating.